Hi, this is Carl Leobson at the University of Arizona, and this is just going to be a quick review of Chapter 12 in the Gast text. We'll walk through it in a couple different short videos just to give you some of my insights on the chapter. You can see that this Comparative Intervention Designs chapter was written by Mark Woolery, David Gast, and Diana Hammond. Woolery and Gast kind of wrote the best text previously on single subject research design. Both of them were at the University of Kentucky, left there right before I came in as a student. So the people at the University of Kentucky who taught me were right in line with Woolery and Gast, and I think that helps me in my understanding of their text. And Diana Hammond's a fine researcher too. So the first thing we'll talk about is the types of comparative studies section. The next video will deal with special issues, and then finally the comparative single subject designs. So the types of comparative studies is kind of self-explanatory. It starts with a bit of a bummer statement here by James Johnston, a noted behavioral scholar, who said comparative studies are the bane of applied literature. They often lead to inappropriate inferences with poor generality based on improper evidence gathered in support of the wrong questions, thus wasting the field's limited experimental resources. Yeah, that doesn't lead you to want to do them, does it? However, comparative designs can be really useful in a practical sense, and they can be done in such a way that they will give you some valuable information, but there are some caveats, and we'll get to those. So you can compare different types of things. You can compare competing interventions. Things like, so you've got two established interventions that are competing interventions, like in reading literature. Comparing repeated readings with great leaps as fluency interventions. You could also compare an established intervention like great leaps with some new innovation. You might also compare refinements to interventions. So you might take an intervention like repeated readings that someone else has described in detail in a replicable way at another study, and refine it and suggest that you might get a better result if you did blank, and then use their description of how they did repeated readings compared to yours. And you can do comparisons to understand interactions, and table 12.1 is really actually a nice table. So you may compare the way, and another way to think of this is compare the way you are currently doing instruction with an altered way of doing instruction if you are a practical person, or any intervention that you might be doing, whether it is educational research or research in public health or research in counseling and mental health. So you might be doing your intervention in a particular space and decide that if you conducted that intervention in a different space, you'd have a better result. Let's say a principal has you teaching out of a broom closet, and you say, if I had a regular room, I think my students would behave better and learn more, in which case you might do a comparative study of teaching reading in the broom closet versus teaching reading in a regular classroom. Temporal dimensions, order of events. Let's say that you're doing a public health intervention that has a number of steps to it. And you might look at doing the public health intervention in one order of steps versus in another order of steps. And social dimensions, I think that's an interesting one to look at also. All right. So the bottom line is there is a way to do comparison designs. In the next video there, we're going to learn about some special issues in comparative designs that we're going to show you that they have some serious limitations.